friends to the right, please watch your hands, arms, feet, legs, dorsal slide shut.
Wait to have the 30s there, wait for the
Sante, Sana Warden, as we like to say here, Harambe, it's one day, which means let's go. Alrighty, friends, well, my name is John, and I will be your safari guide through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now, friends, I please ask that you remain seated at all times. Give your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle. Also, a quick reminder to have those face coverings on at all times during our entire safari today. Now, friends, if you take a look up, you'll see the animal spotting guide, which will better help you spot some of the animals here at Harambe. That'll definitely come in handy in our first location, known as the Little Ituri Forest, where animals are rather shy and reclusive. So keep your eyes peeled. Off to the right-hand side is the Harambe Wildlife Reserve welcome sign. So welcome to any of my first-time safari riders, and welcome back to any of you that are returning. Coming up on our right-hand side, the very first animal that we can see, that is known as the okapi. Now, the okapi, with its beautiful black and white stripes on its bottom half, you might think it is related to the zebra. However, they're actually not related to the zebra at all. They're actually related to the giraffe, sharing a similar skull structure and long, prehensile tongue. Both giraffes and okapis like to eat leaves off of bushes and trees, making them browsers. Coming up on the left-hand side is the watering hole of the Little Ituri Forest, where animals here will gather to drink water. Animals such as the greater kudu, which are coming up on our right-hand side. Very tall standing antelopes. These ones look to be females because they don't have horns. And also the black rhinoceros, which is coming up on our left-hand side. Now, black rhinos are some of the smaller rhinos in their species, weighing about 3,500 pounds, where that is large compared to most animals. That's about 2,000 pounds lighter when compared to other rhinos. Black rhinos also do have a tendency to be territorial animals, and that's just because they want to protect themselves from the many different predators that live around them. Like most animals here, black rhinos are browsers, which means that they like to eat leaves off bushes and trees. And with that said, naturally they have a triangular shaped mouth, which gives them an edge when eating leaves. Also off to the right-hand side, the orange cinnamon-coated animals, those are known as bongos, better known as the ghosts of the forest, just because of how rarely anyone ever spots them. And coming up on the left-hand side, the black and white birds here, these are known as saddle-billed storks, which get their name because of the very unique elements that they have on their bills, kind of like the shape of an English saddle. We're going to head on down to the Safi River, which hosts some of the aquatic animals that live here at Harambe. Now, quick tip one is spotting animals on the river, in particular the Nile hippopotamuses. You're going to want to look above the water for eyes, noses, and ears. You see, hippos don't have spike glands, so it can be extremely uncomfortable for them to be out of the water. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't come out of the water at all. As you can see to our right-hand side, they do occasionally come out to feed or to sunbathe, but as soon as they're finished, they go straight back in. Now, hippos can stay submerged underwater for about 8 minutes at a time, and they come up for a quick breath of air, and boom, they go straight back down. Hippos are herbivores, but with that said, they are also territorial animals. That's just because they want to protect themselves from the many different predators that live on the river with them. Some of the methods that they use is they will group together in the water, forming a float of hippos. And two, they'll actually spray fecal matter into the air, which produces a very strong and potent smell that keeps most animals away. Coming up on our left-hand side are some pink-backed pelicans, which get their name because of the pinkish coloration on their backs. Although it does tend to get much brighter during mating season, so it might be kind of difficult to spot just at the moment. And coming up on our left-hand side, just past these beautiful waterfalls, looks like a pit of Nile crocodiles. Now, crocs are known for taking on prey bigger than themselves. to the savannah, which hosts some of the world's most famous and well-known animals. But before we get down there, a very important part of the savannah coming right up ahead of us. It kind of looks like a giant root sticking out of the ground. It is known as the Baobab Tree. Now, the reason why Baobab trees are so important is because throughout the year they collect and hold thousands of gallons of water inside of them. During drought seasons, animals such as giraffes have the ability to survive and drink water. Now, unfortunately, though, due to a lot of current habitat loss going on in the savannah, a lot of Baobab trees haven't been making it past their premature years when they have lifespans around thousands, which is why it is important for us to spread this information to our friends and families. It not only makes an impact on Baobab trees, but the animals that rely on them as a source of water. And like I mentioned earlier, coming up on our right-hand side, it looks like a tower of Maasai giraffes. Now, like their relative the okapi, they share that long and prehensile tongue, which is about 1.5 feet long. A good way to get an idea of how long that is by looking at the top of your fingertips and down to your elbow. A giraffe's tongue is also a purplish gray color, and the reason why is it prevents their tongues from being sensitive to the sun because they're constantly eating in direct sunlight. Now, a full-grown adult giraffe stands anywhere from 16 to 20 feet tall, whereas when they're first born as babies, they only stand about 6 feet tall. Baby giraffes can also walk within the first hour of birth because it helps them nurse. Now, where a giraffe does stand very tall, don't let that size fool you. They can actually catch up to speeds of around 45 miles an hour. And coming up on our left-hand side, just inside the cave, it looks like some African wild dogs that are known as painted dogs because of those beautiful fur coats that they have. Now, African wild dogs have a 90% success rate when hunting. The reason why it's so high is they're very long-distance runners. They actually like to chase down their prey to exhaustion, to the point where they can't run anymore or defend themselves. And coming up on our left-hand side, it looks like some mountain-back zebras. A common question I get about them all the time is, are they white with black stripes or black with white stripes? Zebras are actually black with white stripes. The way that you can tell is by looking at the skin color of their noses. So these tall standing orange structures that you see scattered all around us, these are known as termite mounds, made out of mud, saliva, and animal bone. Once they dry, they become the termite's home, but many animals in the savannah will use them as scratching posts. Also, in some cases, they can be much wider and bulkier, kind of looking like a rock formation almost. Allowing much smaller antelopes, such as springboks, which are off to our left-hand side out in the tall grass, to stand up on and scan the savannah for any potential predators and how to avoid them. Now, springboks get their name because when excited, they can actually jump about 6 feet in the air. Springboks can also catch up to speeds of around 50 to 60 miles an hour. Coming up ahead of us, I'm spotting an animal with some massive horns. It is known as an Ankoli Cattle. They actually use those massive horns to their advantage by circulating blood to them to help control their natural body temperature, which keeps them cool on the hot, humid days in the savannah. Ankoli cattle are also the only domesticated animals that live in the savannah, mainly used for dairy purposes. So coming up ahead of us to our left-hand side, a tower of Maasai giraffes. Now, where many animals are referred to as packs, herds, floats, crashes, giraffes are referred to as a tower. on our left-hand side, usually spotting some Mandrels, which are the largest monkeys in the world. A full-grown adult mandrill weighs about 100 pounds. Way back there. Also, coming up on our right-hand side here, let me get around these trees. Looks like some African elephants. Now, African elephants have big and floppy ears, which they use to flap against their skin, kind of acting like a fan, which keeps them cool on the hot, humid days in the savannah. Typically, Asian elephants have much smaller, square-shaped ears because they live in cooler climates and don't need to keep themselves cool like African elephants do. Now, both male and female African elephants have tusks, whereas in Asian elephants, only the males have tusks. Unfortunately, though, elephants around the world are being hunted down and poached for their tusks because inside of them it contains a valuable material called ivory, which is then sold on the black market for a lot of money. It's something that we can all do to help elephants out. It's really just by spreading this information to our friends and family, because more people that become aware of the situation, the much bigger impact it makes. With that said, currently we're headed on down to the red clay pits. Elephants will eat red clay to get minerals that they don't get from their herbivore diets. Clay is naturally high in minerals such as potassium, calcium, sodium, and many more minerals. So for them to eat it, it's kind of like eating a super vitamin. Take a look coming up on our right-hand side. You can see where their tusks have dug into that red clay, pulling out massive chunks to eat. Now, elephants are also very social animals. They form a matriarch society, which means that the females are in charge, whereas the males will branch off from the group and form loose bachelors of other males or live by themselves. It all depends on the circumstances. Also, typically, baby elephants will live with their mothers for about 15 years, which is considered some of the longest recorded mammals to live with their parents. However, humans are number one. We live with our parents forever. And coming up on our right-hand side are some more Baobab trees, and elephants will puncture holes in the sides of Baobab trees to get water out of them and during drought seasons. Like a flamboyance of flamingos, but not just any flamingo, the greater flamingo, which is the lightest pink colored flamingo in the world. They get that light pink color from eating things such as brine shrimp and other water creatures that contain something called beta carotene, which holds the pigment that changes their feathers to that beautiful pink color. They come out as a grayish-white color, and as time progresses, that's when their feathers start to develop more pink as they eat more beta carotene. You might even be able to see quite a few of them in there with their grayish-white feathers still. Also, the island that they're standing on kind of has an odd shape to it. Maybe it's just me, though. Up ahead of us to our left-hand side, the scimitar horned oryxes, which get their name because of the very unique shape of their horns, very long, skinny, and curved, like the scimitar sword, which was used a very long time ago. It's also very popular. It's been used in many movies, TV shows, and other forms of media. That's why they get the name scimitar horned oryx, so because scimitar sword. Their horns. Also, just behind them, it looks like some mud pits. Now, certain animals in the savannah will use mud as a natural sunblock because, like humans, they have very sensitive skin when it comes to the sun. Typically, elephants will fling mud up on their backs and keep their backs covered in mud. just in front of the logs. Now, cheetahs are the fastest animals in the world, catching up to speeds of around 60 to 70 miles an hour. Not really considered long distance runners, but they run fast in short bursts, which means that they run fast, take a break, run fast, take a break. But aside from them actually chasing down their prey, they're actually very calm and relaxed animals like you see here, and will rest quite a bit throughout the day. I'd say about 80% of the time that I actually see them, they are resting or sleeping, just like you see here. Two more of them just in between the trees off to our left. Ahead of us are some copy rocks. Now, certain predators in the savanna will use copy rocks as a vantage point to scan the savanna for prey. Also, certain prey animals will use copy rocks as a vantage point to scan the savanna for potential predators and how to avoid them. And coming up on our right-hand side, it looks like a white rhinoceros. Now, white rhino was never the original name for them. It was actually pronounced Weitz rhino with a V, which means wide in Afrikaans. And over the years of mispronunciation for many different people, it eventually just became white rhino. The reason why they're considered the wide rhino is one, they weigh about 5,000 pounds, and two, they have a very wide square-shaped mouth, which allows them to eat grass a lot more efficiently because they're grazers. And coming up on our left-hand side, it looks like a lioness up there, some on the copy rocks. Lions will rest anywhere from 18 to 20 hours throughout the day. It does not mean that they sleep all day. They still get up and do stuff, but for the most part, they rest just like this. At night, though, lions are active. They have about 6 times greater eyesight at night than they do during the day when compared to humans. So pretty much during the day, both humans and lions have about the exact same eyesight, whereas at night, lions have 6 times greater eyesight. Lionesses are the hunters of the pride, whereas the males are the stay-at-home dads who take care of the cubs and protect them from any potential predators. Also off to our left-hand side, it looks like some warthogs lying down just behind the log over there. Warthogs are the largest burrowing animals in the world. They make their burrows using their tusks and hooves, but they also use burrows that other animals have made as well. So white rhinos are not territorial animals at all. And that's just because they spend so much time around themselves and other animals in the savanna, such as the ostrich. Now, an ostrich has a massive set of legs, which they use to catch up to speeds of around 45 miles an hour. They can also produce a very powerful kick, in some cases even being lethal towards predators. Now, what that said, friends, we're going to head on first. That are here for rehabilitation purposes, that are sick or injured. Once they're done rehabilitating, you have to return them to their homes in the wild or find them a new home here at Harambe. It all depends on the circumstances. Currently, the animals that live here are known as the Nigerian dwarf goats. They're very tiny little animals, originally from West Africa. However, they're used doesn't mean your journey with the animals has to. Like I've been saying all day about animal conservation, something that you can do to help out the animals is just by spreading information to our friends and family, whether it's facts or maybe your own conservation message. Helps out animals that suffer from habitat loss, poaching, pollution, and many other sources. You can also donate to the Disney Conservation Fund. Walt Disney Company will match your pay. Dollar for dollar, penny for penny. But if you donate just $1, Walt Disney Company will match it another dollar, making it $2. And once again, friends, my name is John. Please come back for more safaris in the future. It's definitely worth a second shot because who knows, maybe an animal that you didn't get to see this time, you'll get to see on your next safari. The migratory patterns here all throughout Harambe, no two safaris are the same. Also, just another friendly reminder, just to make sure you have those face coverings on all the way over your nose and chin before onboarding, and to make sure to double check those rows for any personal belongings, such as cell phones, keys, wallets, bags, purses, because believe me, you remind people all the time, and somehow they still manage to forget, and I really don't know how after remind them so many times. Please double check those rows. It takes like 2 seconds, and you'll feel a lot better knowing that you have all of your personal belongings.